Okay, importing data. Now this is important, and we have about 15 minutes left, so hopefully that's just about the right amount of time. I'm going to leave you guys with an exercise to complete at the end of this. Obviously, we won't have time to do it together, but going to do it, hopefully you're going to do it today, this afternoon, this evening, and then send me the files. Maybe we want some new data, right? Maybe we don't want to work with preloaded data that doesn't really tell us all that much, and it's not useful for our purposes. So we can manually download data into our data directory, obviously. Like you can put any file into any folder. You can just do that. If you do that, and in general, regardless how you get it in there, you should probably always create a readme .txt file that just says downloaded on this date from this source. Because if you ever want to go back and find out where you got your data from, if someone else is like, well, where'd you get your data? You want to know. You don't want to say like, oh, I found it on the internet somewhere. I don't know where. You're going to be like, I don't trust that data. But if you can point to it, be like, no, it was from this particular website. I know it's reliable because of this, and I have the most recent version of it. I downloaded this time. Then people are going to find your project a lot more plausible. So always include that README file. Regardless, you rather than downloading it manually, you can also just download it directly from Stata. So say you've already run your settings file. Then you can type the command, and it's not actually link to data, but it's the URL. Copy the URL to the, and then where you want it to go, where you want it to be downloaded to, and finally the name of the file itself. So I will blow this up so you guys can see it. These are downloadable directly from the course website if you like, or you can do this way of doing it. So I'd like you to do this way of doing it and download 2 files. So I want you to put these actually in a new do file. Call the do file data download or something like DTA_download or something like that. And you can put that in your data folder. You may find this a little cumbersome to do right now. Why would I not just download directly? You will find that once you want to start to download, say like 50 files or 100 files from some website, and they just change very minorly, and you that change, say it's like it goes up by a number or something like that, then you could put this in a do loop, which we'll look at on day 3, and you could just change that thing very simply, and it would download all that data rather than you having to download it by hand. So this is all on one line. It just didn't fit on here, but copy space http://.csv space and then this.
Do we need to have the link
and just to give credit where credit is due, the first file is Walmart store openings with store numbers, exact addresses, and the date of opening and the dates of conversion, type of store, etc. It's provided by Thomas Holmes. He got them from Walmart initially, but he's very generously made them available on his website. The second, you're downloading from the data website for this course, but it was downloaded from the Bureau of Economic Analysis website initially. And details about that are available on the course website. In case it's not clear here, this is 2 underscores, not just 1. You don't need to save it as this name, but I kept the name that they used, and we're going to keep using that. You could call it whatever you want, but for our purposes for now, let's keep these names. But when you're doing your own, you don't have to use the same name. But yeah, you should just be able to copy and paste it into here. There we go. Finally it works. And now you see that it's downloaded into this folder right here.
What happens if you download it again? Will it like replace it or make a new one?
Try running it again.
Yeah.
Now it says already exists. But if you did comma replace, then it would overwrite it. So hopefully you've got both files. Okay, so now if we want to load data into Stata, if it's already Stata data, so it's a .dta file, you can just type use and then in quotations whatever the directory is and the file name .dta. Then you want to end the quotes, comma, space, clear. If you do not have that, though, say you've got an XLS or XLSX, which is an Excel file, or if you've got a CSV file, for example, you have to use different ways of loading the data. And even for those two types of files, you need to use different ways of loading it. So if it's an Excel file, you want to import Excel using, and then the file path and the file name. And say you want to include, so the most common option that you would use is to include the variable names. So if they are listed in the first row of some spreadsheet, then it takes those and it applies them as the variable names rather than just having var1, var2, var3, and the first observation being those variable names. So we don't want that. So for loading Excel files, you want to comma first row. If you want to do a CSV file, rather than import Excel, you go import delimited using, and then the path and the file name. But to include the variable names, you would go comma space var names, and then whichever row the variable names were in this case, the first. So let's try doing that with this data that we just downloaded. Let's use the store opening CSV. And sometimes you also have to do clear. And now you can see what's loaded is all of these Walmart data. We see that we have 11 variables, nearly 3,200 observations. Now, once that's loaded, you're going to want to save it as a data file, a Stata data file. So you'd want to do save space and then the file path and whatever name you want to call it, and then .dta, comma replace. And then you've got it as a clean file. Now maybe you want to have actually cleaned it first before you save it as that. Maybe you want to import it, clean it a bit, and then save it as a Stata data file. So for the final exercise for today, I'm going to require you to use what you've learned, but also figure out some new commands. And obviously, there's not time to do it in class, but as I said, if you can get it to me by the end of the day, I will look over it. And we'll get right back to it in just a sec. I'll put it up there, but what did we do today? We kind of got started with Stata, went over some basic commands, explored data, figured out the commands that we need to explore data, went over best practices, including directory structure and do files, and learned how to import data. So yeah, please send me your settings do file your exercise 4 do file, which will be the one you create for this last exercise, and your associated log file. And I will leave this up right now if you want to look at it. I'll also post this on the course website today if you got to go. So thanks for your attention, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow bright and early.